Hello, as you can see, I'm with our presiding bishop, the Most Reverend Catherine Jefford Shorey. Welcome to Raleigh.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
It's just great to have you here for any reason and occasion, but particularly great to have you here for the conference. What brings you to Raleigh?
Well, I'm here to attend the dinner at the opening of the history conference, the Tri-History Conference, I think it's called. I'm just here at the beginning. I wish I could stay all week, but I can't. Delighted to see you, and delighted to see your diocesan office and hear a little bit about what's cooking in the Diocese of North Carolina.
Well, welcome to you.
Thank you.
There are a number of things we'd love to talk about, but one thing that does come to mind, you are a scientist, a theologian, a bishop, among many other things. But you happen to be uniquely positioned to speak about the Gulf oil spill and impact and environmental stewardship and care of God's creation. And I read a piece you wrote that was in the Huffington Post. I wonder if you'd share some of your insights and reflections.
Sure. This oil spill, to me, more than anything else, is a reminder of how connected we are as human beings, with the rest of creation, with each other, with global systems. The oil that's flowing into the Gulf of Mexico is spreading around the Gulf of Mexico. It's, I think, fairly likely that it's going to impact the beaches in Florida, the coral reefs in Florida. Parts of the output will probably come around the end of Florida, and begin to come up the Atlantic coast. Its impact in a physical system like that is going to persist for decades and probably centuries at some level. You look at the so-called cleanup of the Exxon Valdez spill, and you can go up there and see that the surface of the rocks looks pretty clean. You turn the rocks over and there's still plenty of heavy crude underneath the rocks in many places. And that's the kind of shoreline that's much easier to clean than sandy beaches or marshes on the Gulf Coast. That oil, it poisons plants and animals at the base of the food chain. If they survive, they retain some of those chemicals, and the things that eat them are also poisoned or impacted in some way by the toxic chemicals that are found in oil. The human system, eats fish and shrimp and other things, crabs that come out of the Gulf, and those will be polluted in some way or other for a very long time to come. Even at low levels, those toxins have impacts in human beings. I was reading a piece not long ago that talked about migratory birds and what they have in their digestive systems when they fly north to the tundra in northern Canada pollutes the lakes up there that have been fairly pristine until recently. So there's nowhere to escape from the impacts of this system. The human beings who live and work along the coast of the Gulf are already losing their employment if they work in the tourism or the fishing industries. Some of them are being temporarily reemployed in cleanup efforts. But that system is going to be impacted for a very long time, and it's impacting the poorest people. The people who clean the rooms in the hotels are going to be the first ones to lose their jobs, and the servers in the restaurants, the crew, the deckhands on the fishing boats. We're all going to see the results of this for a very long time to come. And of course it's happening in a part of the world that is still trying to recover from the impact of Katrina and Wilma and Rita.
Could you say a little bit about, related to that, but a little bit about some of the ongoing work that goes on New Orleans, Mississippi, as a result of the hurricanes? I know Episcopal Relief and Development and others, there's a lot of continuing work. But could you say a little bit about some of that?
There is. Houses continue to be built and rehabbed for people without. I was in New Orleans not too long ago for the consecration of the new bishop of Louisiana. One of the diocesan staff members is still living in a FEMA trailer, almost 5 years after the hurricane. There are still a few people in that kind of circumstance. There are lots of people who haven't returned, who left that area, moved to another part of the country. But houses are being rebuilt through things like Jericho Road, joint project of ERD helped to get started. Employment opportunities, churches. The church that Charles Jenkins started in the Lower Ninth is having major impact in that part of the world. The whole Diocese of Louisiana really shifted gears as a result of that. It shrunk significantly, but a large number of people left the diocese, but their focus has really shifted to the least among us.
Yes.
They're doing gospel work.
Yeah. Are you seeing that around the church? I mean, I'm just wondering, what are you seeing around the church?
I'm seeing congregations and dioceses far more invested in mission, both locally and globally, than they were 10 years ago. People understand the needs of those who are suffering in their own communities, the needs for food and employment and education, and people are, I think, more willing to be public advocates on behalf of their brothers and sisters who are not doing as well as they should be, and people are building relationships with other parts of the Anglican Communion and learning about what it's like to be an Anglican in another part of the world, learning about the impacts of global climate change in sub-Saharan Africa. Mm-hmm. Women and girls have to walk a lot farther to get water because of desertification. It's harder to grow crops. They're beginning to understand the relationship between oil use, global warming, and the impacts on people in Africa.
You are. I don't want to go push the scientist thing too much, but you're a unique combination of a scientist, a theologian, a practicing cleric, a preacher, a teacher. What is the faith in you that gives you energy, that helps you cross bridges, cross worlds, and bring them together? What is that like for you?
I think knowing myself as beloved, knowing myself beloved of God, and challenged to see everybody else, all human beings, but also the rest of creation as beloved of God. That wonderful creation story in Genesis, God creates and it is good. God creates and it is good. God creates human beings and it is very good. For us to learn to hear the same words that the heavenly voice spoke to Jesus at his baptism, "You are my beloved, and in you I am well pleased," I'm convinced that God says that to each one of us as well. When we know that about each other, it's a whole lot easier to build bridges.